Well, good day. So for today's video, we're gonna talk about the first introduction of two of Marvel's cosmic characters, Thanos, the Mad Titan, and Ego, the Living Planet. So, alright, let's go.
Alright, so we start off with the last episode's recap, where Galactus visited his next meal, the peaceful planet of Zenla, where a Zenladian named Norrin Radd allowed himself to be turned into Galactus's new herald, called the Silver Surfer, in exchange to spare the planet of Zenla. So in this episode, Silver Surfer, with his memory completely wiped, is finding new planets for his master to devour. But this kind of leaves the Silver Surfer feeling a little empty. Like, is this what my life is all about? Just finding planets? And also, all of these people are losing their planetary home, which is kind of sad, and I somehow feel slightly responsible for it. So he is on the cusp of an existential crisis. Elsewhere, the villainous Thanos is watching Galactus devour this latest planet through some really awesome satellite TV package, which I hope is narrated by Sir David Attenborough, because that would be pretty awesome. Nonetheless, Thanos and his lover, who is off screen, both agree that if Thanos was able to control Galactus's power, he would be able to control the universe. But, wow, man, like, that's a pretty lofty goal. How the hell do you think you're gonna be able to control Galactus's power, you crazy bastard? That would be like the equivalent of something, I don't know, smaller, like, let's say, a cat trying to control a human, you know, making the human feed it and pick up its poo in a box and actually, yeah. Okay, yeah, Thanos, I guess I see your point with that, huh. But also, Thanos is thinking of taking this in smaller steps. You know, eat the elephant one bite at a time. He will put his initial focus on the Silver Surfer, because the Surfer should have all of the knowledge of Galactus, so Thanos can find a weak spot and exploit it, without having to kill many Bothans. So Thanos sets off a supernova to send the Silver Surfer to a very specific planet. And a very weird planet, you know? A planet that is not revolving around a sun, but still has daylight light on the surface. It also has plants that grow at exponential rates, and it's a planet that is fighting against the Silver Surfer. Like, what? Man, this thing is setting off volcanoes to attack him? It exponentially created an ice age to trap the Silver Surfer on the surface? Like, holy jeez! It even has a tornado telling Silver Surfer that he's stuck here. A tornado told him this, hey? Holy jeez, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. Man, it's like this planet has a mind of its own, which does not bode well for the Silver Surfer. Neither for Galactus, who is starting to get a little hungry and is waiting for the call for his next planet to devour, which is not coming. So as Silver Surfer is trying to deal with his apparently new planetary home, a mountain appears before him and introduces himself. He is Ego, the Living Planet, and he invites the Silver Surfer to stay on his planetary surface. Technically, to like stay on his head, like dandruff, which, you know, I would be kind of creeped out about, right? Like, if you ever have that feeling that someone's always watching you and you're like on a planet that's always watching you, you know? I don't know. Also, if there was a talking tornado and now a talking planet, you know, conversing with me, my weak grip on reality would be completely shattered at this point, so kudos to you, Silver Surfer, for keeping it together. Suddenly, Thanos shows up on Ego and quickly enters the Silver Surfer's mind to extract all of Galactus's secrets. But, there's no secrets there, you know? There's like nothing there. Just empty space. Like me after a weekend bender. which I guess technically would be a failsafe which Galactus did to the Surfer for just such an occasion if someone tried to use the Herald against him with that, memory wipe and stuff like that. But Thanos finds a memory stick in the shape of a disc, and as he's accessing this, he temporarily gives the Silver Surfer his memories back. Memories of when he was Norrin Radd, who was deeply in love with Shalabal, living on the planet Zenn-La. Zenn-La? The planet Zenn-La? Oh no! The memory of Zenn-La completely freaks Thanos out! Apparently, back in the day, Thanos had a really embarrassing failure on the planet Zenn-La, which completely triggers him and he completely breaks down, to which he needs to escape right now. So he leaves Ego, goes back to his ship, and takes off again, which is a pretty overly dramatic spectacle and quite the abrupt exit, but it favors the Silver Surfer just fine, as it also does for the planet Ego, which just completely disappears now that it's no longer under the spell of Thanos. Ha! What a lucky break for the Surfer! So Thanos, in his breakdown and in his new failure, is pleading forgiveness to his lover, the Lady Chaos, who is a statue? What? Or is entrapped in a statue? So like you weren't even really talking to her before? Holy crap, man, this is like Norman Bates level of crazy. Yes, mother, whatever you say, mother, I shall do for you, mother. Holy crap, Thanos. I thought you were put more together than that. Regardless, the Silver Surfer had his memories kind of evaporate again, but now he has memories of having memories, so he decides to confront Galactus to find out exactly what the hell he did to him and what is going on with himself. So he meets up with Galactus at the place of his next meal, which is a planet that has a North America looking kind of landmass on it. Huh, that's funny. I'm on a planet that has a North America shaped landmass on. Oh my god, they're at the planet Earth! What's gonna happen to us? Well, we're gonna have to wait until next time because with that, that is the end of this to be continued tale.
Man, this cartoon series, hey, just fantastic. And it's a pretty awesome series because you do get to see a lot more of the characters from the cosmos than you did see in any other Marvel cartoon series up to this point. Silver Surfer and Galactus, sure, we've seen them before in cartoons, but this series will show us a whole bunch of other characters we've never seen in cartoon before, like Thanos, like Ego. But Thanos, eh? Like, holy crap! The dude is powerful and the dude is totally flawed, which makes him such a dangerous villain, But I really do love the portrayal of him, of how he is so incredibly devoted to Lady Chaos. So yeah, like not the exact same circumstances as his comic book counterpart, but still, his devotion to his love is like second to none, and like he would do anything for her just to prove that he is worthy of her love. So yeah, like they do a really good job of Thanos in this series. But it is kind of funny that he completely falls apart at the memory of a past mistake. Which I guess I can kind of dig. I've had some minor mistakes in my life that keep me up at night, 15 years later. I think we can all relate to that, Maybe not to the degree of Thanos in this cartoon, but, to a degree. And then you have the planet Ego. A living planet. Oh my god. Like on Earth here, we say that nature is Mother Nature and is, kind of a being and stuff like that. But this, a living planet, that kind of takes that to the furthest degree. So still, in a sense, that's kind of relatable to planet Earth, but, yeah, not to the same extent. But still, hey, what a fascinating concept, a living planet. So if you haven't seen this episode or this series before, I would strongly suggest you do, man, because it is freaking awesome. But with that, we do have some more behind-the-scenes kind of things with Thanos, with Ego, and other kind of stuff going on over here.
So yes indeed, hey, Thanos and Ego. Two pretty fantastic characters who live in space. So let us take a closer look at them, starting with Thanos. So Thanos first appeared in The Invincible Iron Man number 55 in 1973, where we find out that he lives on Titan. And no, not Titan, some faraway planet that we've never seen before. Nay, I'm talking about Titan, the moon of Saturn, in our own solar system. So like, man, Thanos is like right there. Well, relatively speaking, I guess. Not only is he right there, but he's also really big and purple and really strong. Turns out he is a hybrid of two different alien species. He is both an Eternal and a Deviant. Both the Eternals and the Deviants were creations by the ancient cosmic beings known as the Celestials. The Eternals are human being-looking aliens, I guess, and they are almost immortal and almost indestructible. Not only that, but they can also channel their cosmic energy to give themselves godlike powers, which look like superpowers, to the reader. With the other species the Celestials have created, the Deviants, well, they're not so exactly beautiful looking. They are quite grotesque, having mutations or some deformities of some kind, but they too can possess cosmic energy powers. That is why Thanos is big and strong and purple with a wrinkly chin. A bit of both worlds in him. So naturally, Thanos has powers of superhuman strength, speed, stamina, durability, agility, all that kind of fun stuff. He can also shoot plasma energy, which in of itself is pretty fantastic and pretty powerful, but he also decided to turn his mind into a superpower. He has traveled the universe learning from the greatest teachers about pretty much everything. So with all of that, he's become quite a genius, like holy crap. He's a master tactician, a war strategist, like freaking everything, hey? Like, jeez. But all of that is not enough for him. No! So he tries to gain more and more power and more control over everything, which is a pretty interesting concept for a villain. So with that, let us take a little look as to how this character was created. So Thanos was co-created by Mike Frederick and Jim Starlin, where he got inspiration while attending one of his psych classes at university. The inspirational topic being Sigmund Freud's concept of the death drive, aka Thanatos. Get it? Thanatos? Thanos? Huh? Is someone who has self-destructive behaviors, aggression towards others, and a compulsion to repeat traumatic experiences. Which, I guess, yeah, that's kind of Thanos, hey? But yeah, I'm no psychologist, so I don't really understand this, completely, incredibly well. That's just a basic description. But if you want to create a really interesting supervillain, psychology class is probably a really awesome place to start. Also, for the visual of Thanos, as people say, he is kind of a knockoff of DC Comics villain Darkseid, and, well, that's kind of a little bit true. Jim, really wasn't looking to create a copy of Darkseid, but he was a really big fan of legendary artist Jack Kirby, who at the time was working at DC Comics on the title The New Gods. One of those new gods being Darkseid. So even though he didn't really intend to copy the character, he did take some visuals from him, and well, there you go. Also, I have to point out there, Thanatos, right? Not only is it another name for Sigmund Freud's death drive concept, but Thanatos is also the name of the ancient Greek personification of death. And that aspect of the name really makes sense for the character as well. So as Thanos was growing up, learning a whole bunch of things, being all super powery and stuff, he eventually became fascinated with nihilism, where he started to worship and eventually fell in love with the physical embodiment of death. Where in Marvel Comics, that physical embodiment of death would be Mistress Death. So in this cartoon series, Thanos is not completely in love with Mistress Death, but instead with Lady Chaos. I guess the producers thought that Thanos going after basically the Grim Reaper might have been a bit too much for kids watching cartoons, even though that happens in the comics that the kids could read, so they changed Mistress Death to Lady Chaos. He would be trying to free her from her statue state. Thanos is most known for having the Infinity Gauntlet with all of the Infinity Stones, but that hasn't happened in this episode, so we won't talk about that until we see him with it. As for the other new character, we have Ego, the Living Planet. Ego first appeared in The Mighty Thor number 132 in 1966. So Ego was co-created by legends Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. So at this time, Jack Kirby was creating a whole bunch of cosmic characters for Marvel, and really loved doing it, and really came up with some fantastic concepts. And he started to think, like, what if a new character didn't come from a different planet? What if this new character was a different planet? And so, with that thought, boom! You have Ego. So Ego's backstory is, pretty wild, right? On some far-flung planet all the way over there, the sun in which it was going around was going to go supernova. So local planetary scientist named Egros was trying to save his people and protect them as much as he could from a supernova. Well, even if he could, it's a moot point. A cosmic being named the Stranger had slightly different plans for this planet. He set the supernova to go off early, which caught Egros unaware, and he was the only person who was out in the open on the planet's surface. So with that, the Stranger merged Egros with the planet and all of the living things on the planet to create Ego, the Living Planet. Which, man, like, jeez, eh? Some people have simple things happen to them, like being bitten by a radioactive spider. Some people merge with the planet, What a funny universe. So in this featured episode, Ego is, somewhat more cheerful and nice. He only attacked the Silver Surfer because basically Thanos made him do that. But in the comics, he is definitely more of a jerk and more leaning a bit towards villain. But indeed, hey, like, those are the basics on the characters, kind of how they were created and kind of what makes them, right? For all of the other stuff with them, we'll get to it when we get to it. But for now, with this, that, those, and the other things, I guess that's that. Also, if you're interested, I created my own comic book channel, 215 Comics. And currently, I have created my own cartoon series, The Adventures of the Density. And recently started a radio series featuring my newest character, Elastomorph, with more titles to come. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link up top here to that channel and some links at the end of the video. Yay! Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, feel free to do so. Or anything else, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, have a great day. Thanks.